for you.
Oh, God.
Yes.
I'm barely here. What time is it?
It's 3 till 10.
I don't care, really.
2 minutes away.
Don't worry, half the hotel's sleeping right now, so
I know, yeah.
they were out until about 3 or 4 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, I heard them
Yeah.
from my hotel
Yeah,
room.
you heard them, but
How could you not hear them?
what did you hear?
Actually, the night before, I heard a fight down the hallway.
Only one?
You know, I know, exactly. Security came running down the hallway. I'm like peeking out my little hole in my door. I'm like, oh, what's going
A
on?
little hole in the door. But yeah, there were people watching till about 4 in the morning. And then people start, over at the Marriott, people start throwing stuff off the 30th floor, dropping them down like little parachutes. No, little parachute stuff. So security
Oh,
guard
okay,
ran
so
up there.
I thought you meant like.
No, the security guard ran up there and saw where it dropped. He didn't even know who it was, but he saw where the floor was. People up there were knocking around. Yeah. He
Oh
actually
my God,
caught
what
that.
hotel was that? Marriott?
Marriott.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you know how in the middle
Uh-huh.
of
Which floor you on, 30th floor?
Yeah. He saw where it came
Yeah,
from.
I'm like 47. I think.
Yeah, he saw where it came from. He walked right on up there and started knocking on the
I thought it was right there.
Oh my God.
But they were,
Insane.
yeah, they were having a blast over there. And of course, everybody was drunk anyway.
Oh, they were really
Only
drunk.
only
I saw
half.
this
The
girl
other half
stumble off
was
the
passed out.
elevator. It was so scary. I thought she was going to just do a header. She's stumbling off the elevator. I'm like, whoa. Careful, sweetie. There was a couple of stumblers, though. So. Not just one. Do you have any questions?
Just tell us what you've been into.
I actually
career-wise.
did a movie a little while ago, which was a lot of fun. Of course, I think I told you I'm getting back into business and stuff, so it's kind of slow right now because of all the trouble with the unions and stuff. But we'll see. But it was a lot of fun. It was a Doomsday kind of movie, and I played a paramedic, which was not me at all, because I hate blood and gore and all that kind of stuff. So. Well, I like the fake stuff. I don't like the real stuff. Fake stuff is cool. But so that was a lot of fun. I got to pretend that a big hurricane and tornado was heading for me, and it wasn't. So a little acting there. Okay, I think it's like my hand is like a big tornado coming at you. Okay. And I got to deliver a baby. That was very interesting. A lot of screaming involved, but not me, because I was delivering the baby, not having the baby. So that was a lot of fun. And really nice people. And that was about it. I also volunteer. I don't know if I told anything of this, but I volunteer for an organization called Jeopardy, which is with the LAPD. And it's at-risk kids that are, maybe get into gangs and stuff. So their parents are either in jail or, their brothers or siblings or, something like that, maybe in jail. So it's really fun, and I do arts and crafts with them and play games with them, and, I usually do a weekend for kids. And so it's fun. I try and do that like twice a week, usually Tuesday and Thursday. So that's really fun. Yeah.
Here's one. When did you learn what your dad does? At what age did you say, wow?
Probably, this is a funny story actually. My dad and my mother got divorced when I was about 6. And I remember my dad picking me up and we'd do our, we'd go ice skating, or something like that. We'd go out. And he'd always get hassled, of course. He'd always have fans coming up to him and autographs and stuff like that. And I got really annoyed because it was just like, I remember ice skating. It was just, every 5 minutes we had to stop because, somebody wanted an autograph. And I was like really annoyed. I'm like, Dad, fair, I want to spend time with you. And so I told him to wear a disguise. And so I dressed him up like in a hat and glasses and the whole thing. And we we go out and we're ice skating, and it's great. And he's coming up, and we recognized him, and so we're ice skating. And after like a half hour, I'm like, Dad, can you take off the hat and glasses now? Because I was so used to having people come up to us all the time that it was like weird. It was like, well, why isn't anybody paying attention to us now? I want the attention. So I thought that was pretty funny. He actually took off the hat and glasses, and then there we go again. So it was kind of weird. I had a very, I guess, surreal kind of upbringing. It's like, I was different. I knew it was different from my friend's dad, but it wasn't probably until I was even a little older than that I realized that, when I started to actually watch the Monkees, and it's like, oh, you're okay. Because I always knew he was, in a band and stuff. We had a whole studio in the bottom of our house, so, and I remember the drum set, and all the equipment. He had a mixing board, and that whole thing. And I don't know if this story is true, but supposedly some of the Monkees and the Beatles got together and did some music together in his studio. And I was told that they left and got something to eat or something, or whatever. And I started to play Airplane, and I erased it. That's when I got in there. Now I don't know if that's true or not, or they're just like pulling my legs. But so they used to hang out there all the time, and of course Jack Nicholson was there all the time, and people like that. So it was definitely a party house. My best friend was Alice Cooper, and she lived next door. And I loved Alice. So and I remember my first grade teacher, my second grade teacher saying, "So Amy, who's your best friend?" Alice Cooper. So I had my own little entryway to his house too, because my grandfather and Alice didn't want me to go on the street. So my grandfather was a carpenter, and he built a little gate to Alice's house. So I had my own little path in the back, back gate area, and my little gate. I'd go to Alice and knock on the door. Alice, I want to go swimming. And of course he'd be like, girl in there, partying all night. Okay, remember right? So that was pretty fun. Yeah. It was a wild house. We used to have parties all night, of course. I remember one time I got up, I went to bed and, got ready for school. I'm going to school in the morning, and parties going on, and craziness, kind of like last night, except just a little smaller version. But pretty much, nobody in costume, but still kind of very wild and everything. So it was really funny. I got up the next morning, and it was just the same. It was just like the night before. Everybody was still there. Everybody was still partying, and I'm like, okay, school, who's gonna take me? Come on. My mom wasn't a partier at all, so she was pretty together. But God, yeah, some major parties in that house. All kinds of people. It was a very interesting upbringing. Different from, now that I really think about it, it was very different from my friend's house, but it was fun. We grew up in Laurel Canyon, which was kind of like the musician kind of place up there. Any questions? Anybody? Okay.
Now, I know with your father being in music, did you have any interest in doing music yourself?
A little bit when I was younger. I do like to sing. I'm a shower singer, and I sing to my dogs. I do sing a little bit with friends that play, guitars. I have a friend who, and my husband actually is, learning how to play. So we kind of have fun together like that. But and I have gotten on stage a couple times because my aunt also performs with my dad. So she drags me up sometimes. So, as it starts, I just do like background. Like in the last song, sometimes my dad does, cruises and stuff, so I've done that a couple times, which is a lot of fun. But other than that, I basically focused on acting when I was younger. I got junior Star Search probably when I was about 17 or 15, and then I won that, and so that's when I kind of went, okay, I got money, whoa, I won money, I want more. So, and then I just got General Hospital, and then it just kind of went on from there. Which happens a lot, I think, at General Hospital. A lot of people started on General Hospital. It was interesting. So, anybody else? No questions? No questions?
I got one.
Okay.
All right, when you got picked, how did you get picked? She's Out of Control, and how did it make you feel about you doing that movie with Tony Danza?
Oh, my dad was really, really happy. And I think I read for, because you go for the first reading, and then you get a call back, and you get another call back, and then they put you on tape, and then I did a screen test for it, and that was the last thing I did. And I remember getting a phone call and just being so thrilled. I was just like jumping up and down. I was really happy because it was such a fun part because there was such an arc to it. It was like, kind of the ugly duckling, and then you kind of, you get to kind of be another character by the end of it. So that was a lot of fun. My dad was so happy for me. I really remember getting General Hospital because they told me, I kept going back, back, and back, and it was just like forever. They're like very picky people. And it was wheedling down, and every time I went back, there was like less girls. And then the last time I went back, there was like 2 of us, and they told me to wait, and she was gone, and then I went into the casting room, and he told me right there, it's like, because usually they call your agent or manager, and they tell you. And it's like, nope. He just sat me down and said, you got the part, go to wardrobe. I'm like, oh my God. So I actually went to wardrobe. I was like already going to wardrobe and stuff. I guess they like, really wanted to cast it fast. And then I remember my dad was actually living in LA at the time. And I remember running to his house and just bursting through the doors like, I got it. And that was fun because my dad, didn't really live in LA all that much. He lives there now, but he was in England a lot of the time. So it was fun being able to, because I think when I got She's Out of Control, he was in LA, he was probably in England. So it was fun to, experience that moment with my dad, which was really fun, because that was the first big, because it was a 2-year contract and everything. So it was kind of cool. It wasn't just a day player kind of thing. So.
How long was that? When were you on?
I think that was, I want to say mid-80s. I was doing General Hospital. No, I don't think they were. They left like earlier, and then they came back after me, so I didn't really get a chance to work with them. I worked with like Jackie Zeman a lot. I actually introduced her to her husband, which is now ex-husband. Didn't do a very good job there. They were together for a while. They had a couple kids together. I was like, I know, exactly. Hey, I let the groundwork. You guys had to stick it out for yourself. So that was really fun. I met some really great people on that show, and it was a great learning experience. It was kind of like, going to college for acting, because that's how you learn how to find your mark, you know how to cheat the camera, you got to make sure you hit your lighting kind of, because they don't get up there and light. That's why on soap operas the lighting can be kind of iffy, because, and they only do it so many times, and then so if you mess up, it's just like, I don't know if you've ever seen a soap. I don't really watch them, but I remember seeing one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's so weird because if you mess up, sometimes you keep messing up, they'll just put that one on. There's only so long you have, because they literally, I think, pretty much shoot a whole hour in a day. So it's really, it's a really grueling kind of thing to do. But it's kind of scary sometimes, especially when they start changing lines on you. And then they put the teleprompter up, and I hate the teleprompter, so I always try to memorize my lines really fast. So it was fun though. It was a fun learning experience. A lot of good people.
You said you had a husband, right? You're having kids?
No, I got my husband, which is kind of like a kid. And I got 2 dogs and 2 cats. So.
Would you, if you did have kids, would you try to keep them away from the celebrity aspect, or would you let them do their own thing if they want to become actors or actresses? Sure, but how would you?
I'd probably let them do their own thing, but also be very careful about it, because my parents never got me into it when I was younger, and I begged my mom, I remember when I was little, to go on audition. And I walk in, and all these mothers are like pruning their kids and curling their hair, and and doing that. My mom did not want me to do this, so she was like, okay, whatever, she was like, And I'm just sitting there going, okay, wait. And then it was such a long time before they got to me. And so by the time, I didn't even go for the audition, I'm like, it was just so long, I'm sitting there, I'm so bored, I'm like, okay Mom, this is boring, let's go. I don't want to do this anymore. So that was my first audition that I never got to. And then after that, I started getting into acting class and school and stuff. But my parents didn't want me to get into it at all. I really had to, get my dad to, because I knew that he had friends with agents, and his best friend, actually, Stuart, was the one who got me an audition with my first agent, Harry Gold. And it was really funny because I kind of collaborated with Stuart because I kept asking my dad, and I'm like, come on, Dad, please help me get an agent. I want to act. Because I did some acting in high school, and I started doing plays, and so I really got the bug, and I really want to do this as a profession. And he's like, no. And he tried everything. He would, how about dance classes? How about, here's a microscope, be a doctor, It's like, he did everything to try and not get me into business. And so I had to go behind his back to his best friend, Stuart. And I talked Stuart into talking to my dad, into getting my dad on board, because I was still underage. I was only 14, 15. And so his best friend was the actual one who got me my first agent. And so I really had to, I don't know, so that's a tough question because I understand the reason my dad tried to get me out of the business, because it is such a hard business, and it is kind of, it's very hard if you don't get the part, and you kind of, it's like a self-esteem thing. He was worried that I was going to have self-esteem issues and stuff. So, but he eventually came around. I can always, eventually get my dad to come around to my side.
I imagine it would probably be harder now with, paparazzi being a lot more aggressive these days than probably as you were growing up.
And that's
So
true too. I
would
would, because I feel so sorry for like somebody like Britney Spears. I mean, the poor thing is like, she's just a kid. Did she really want to do it, or did her parents force her into it? And now she doesn't have any choice but to deal with it.
Yeah, and then Jamie Lynn, yeah.
And Jamie's,
No
people
privacy,
like that.
yeah.
No privacy whatsoever. And I don't think I'd like that. I don't think I'd like to be that famous. I mean, that would really bother me. That would freak me out. And that would be probably an issue if I did have a kid, especially nowadays where everything's on the net, and they're just always they're just always there. I mean, they have how many people are working for these people?
Yeah.
They must have hundreds. So that would definitely be an issue, because that would be not just the not getting the part. That would be, if you do get famous, then are you going to be able to handle it, kind of thing. So that would be very scary. I would not like to be that famous. That would freak me out completely. Oh my God. I mean, I'm sure the money's great and everything, but if you can't leave your house, then what's the point?
Did you want to act from an early age? But you wanted to act from an early age?
Yeah, I did. Well, I think it was just because I grew up in Hollywood. I went to school, and a lot of my friends at an early age were, acting and stuff. And that's when I kind of went, and they kept asking me, and I remember my parents' friends coming up, oh, you gotta get into the movies, And I'm like, okay. But when I was in high school, that's when I really, started to, I went to high school like Josh Brolin, and so we were friends. I remember when he got Goonies, he was so happy. So cute. Because he got the call at school. It was so fun. And I went to school with China Phillips, and and all these, so it was kind of just, it was that kind of a thing. It was just everybody just, acted. It's like most schools, especially in Texas and, probably Atlanta and stuff, it's all about the sports. And my school, it was much more focused about, the acting, the plays, and the thing. We had I think, a basketball team, and that was pretty much about it. They weren't very good. The Voyagers, yeah, they weren't that great. I think there was one good player. But yeah, my school was very focused on the arts, and we had, art class every day, acting, things like that. So it was very different. I've noticed that with, schools in, probably Middle America or, other schools. But LA, it really is, we have good, sports and stuff, but so a lot of the schools are focused around the arts. So you kind of, just grow up in it, basically. Yeah. Any more questions?
One of your memories of making Pumpkinhead too. And you probably behind the scenes stories.
Oh, Pumpkinhead too, yeah. Yeah, I met my boyfriend, like, one of my boyfriends there. I ended up dating the guy that was my boyfriend in the movie, Trevor Evans. And so, yeah, that was a fun movie to make just because the guy who had actually, played Pumpkinhead was really, really nice. And so it was kind of hard because sometimes I'd smirk when he'd be like, oh, over me and stuff. I'm like, like, okay, yeah, whatever. So yeah, that was a fun one. And Soleil Moonfry was on it. She was really sweet. We became friends from that. And yeah, I think the funniest stories are just running around and with the wind blowing and they have these big wind machines and stuff flying at you. It's very physical to do a scary movie. Ticks was like that too. I remember just running and the thing, the blood, and then you get this horrible blood on you and it sticks and your hair sticks to it and it's very uncomfortable usually, very uncomfortable. And then of course you have lunch with, I remember doing a movie called Children of the Night, and it was about vampires, and I remember sitting there having lunch with this vampire all made up with a big stake through it, and like blood dripping down, and you're just kind of eating, it's so funny. It's so surreal. It's just kind of, you have all these like vampires around you, and just eating, it's like, so what's going on?
That's the A1.
I know, yeah. Very hard to eat spaghetti. I don't think they serve spaghetti a lot on scary movie sets because it's just there's too much blood and gore, sitting around. And it's funny, my friend does locations for CSI New York. And so I go to lunch and, with her a lot on set and, and I sit there and then you have all these corpses that are sitting around you. It's like all these dead people just walking with trays of food. It's very strange.
I remember it was good. Joe looked like also starred Karen Black.
Yeah,
I was
Karen
wondering,
Black.
did you get to, I guess she was a pretty famous actress in the 70s.
Yeah, no, she was a very nice, intense person, actually, but really nice. And she worked a lot with the other girl in it, my best friend in it, because she became a vampire, and then, and I don't think I ever became a vampire. I think I'm the only one that didn't. I think me and Peter DeLuise was in it, and I think we survived. Yeah, God, I can't remember such a long time ago. They all kind of mushed in together. Actually, I don't think I ever died in a scary movie. I think I was always the survivor, which was kind of cool. But she was intense. She was very intense. She was a very interesting woman to get to know. And yeah, that was another movie that was just very. I remember we had to swim in this crypt kind of thing, and they pumped in this water from the lake, and they had all these like dead bodies kind of floating up in the bottom and stuff. So you're swimming in it, and I know it's not real, but still, it's just you have these like coffins around you and all these candles, and it was so creepy. And then you feel all these like bodies underneath you and things like kind of floating up, and then it's lake water too, so you can't see anything. It's so murky. So it was really, really creepy. I remember that. Oh God. I remember long nights too. And of course, the Children of the Night. So I had 5 weeks of all night. So you end up feeling like a vampire anyway, because you never see the light of day. It's just, oh God, that was a tough shoot because it was just, your clock just totally changed, and then you have to change back when you finish. So that was interesting. That was fun. It's fun to do scary movies though, because it's like real. I used to love watching them, and I still do. That's why I kind of did my first one, and then then I kind of got known for it. So I was always told I was a good screamer.
What celebrities make you awestruck? You say, oh my God, like.
God, I think I'd like to meet Meryl Streep. I don't know if I'd be awestruck or not. But I think I've always admired her a lot because she has such a good range of work. God, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I think she'd probably be like the only one that I'd actually try and get, if she was in the room or something and somebody knew her, I'd be like, can you introduce me? I'd love to meet her. But other than that, you know, I admire, you know, a lot of people's work. Nicolas Cage, I went out with Nicolas for a little while, back in the 80s. And I was actually thinking of doing General Hospital. I think General Hospital when we dated. And I just, you know, I think he's turned out to be really, you know, a great actor. And I'm so happy for him because when we dated, he's like, you know, he really wanted to do the leading man kind of thing and not, because he was doing like Valley Girls then, and he did do Moonstruck when I met him. So he was really, you know, wanting to do leading man and stuff. And he's just done it. He's just been, you know, really great. And I used to know Johnny Depp back, you know, back when too. And I'm really happy for him. He just became, you know, so good. And, you know, just amazing. So it's really cool. So I admire Nicholas and Johnny. But I know them, so I don't. I mean, it's not like I'd be awestruck to meet them. I really admire their body of work.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Why'd you get out of it for a while?
I got a little burnt out, you know, just living in Hollywood, and you know, and I decided to take a break, and it was also weird because I played so much younger. I looked so much younger, so it was hard to get work, and I was kind of like in a weird thing. I couldn't. Because I used to get a lot of work because I was 18, 19, 20, 21, and I could play, you know, younger. And for, you know, the business, they love that because they don't have to have a teacher on set, they don't have to, you know, deal with the hours and stuff, because if you're underage, you can only work so many hours, and you're out of there. Because when I worked with kids, I remember doing Step Monster, and I worked with a kid, and you know, he had to be off set, so they do all his close-ups, and I'd be behind the camera feeding my, you know, lines to him, and then we do all his close-ups, and then he'd have to leave, and then I didn't get to act to him. I had to act to like a piece of tape on the wall or something. I think one time one of the grips made a little happy face on it for me, and it helped me out. I couldn't do much, but so it's hard to work with kids because they can only work so many hours, and that's union law, you know, union rules. So I got a lot of my work from doing that, and as I got older, I could still play younger, but it was weird. I wanted to do like older parts, and I was still playing like, you know, 15-year-old. So I just got out of it for a while and got married, and you know, did some other stuff. I started teaching acting to kids and that whole thing, and I just wanted something different too. It was, you know, but now I just, you know, I miss it. It's kind of, I feel homesick now, so that's why I'm getting back into it. I actually also joined a theater company, so I wanted to kind of get back into theater because I've always loved theater so much. So, of course, it doesn't pay, unfortunately, at all. A little bit, just a little. But it was really fun to be a part of a group and really start digging into, like, you know, the actual. There's a lot of movies, and even some of the good movies, you know, the action movies and stuff. They really don't care about the acting so much. It's like, you know, it's like, okay, come on, say your lines, and explosions. Yes, love the explosions. You have these directors that are all about the effects and not about the acting. So that's one reason why I really started getting into theater and stuff like that. So just kind of getting back to my roots. And so yeah, and then I just kind of got homesick. And I love being on set and stuff, and, you know, that too. I like both, you know. I did a play called Bleak House. That was a pretty long run for me. I did a play called The Door, and Angel's Flight, and oh god, a few others. I can't remember now. And then just a few other, like, they were more like scenes from plays. So there was like a bunch of, you know, different scenes that we used to put up and stuff. But Bleak House was, that was pretty tough. I don't know if it's, you know, Bleak House in the book. So it was adapted from Charles Dickens, right? And I had to have an English accent and wear a huge big dress and my bonnet and my gloves and, you know, the whole thing. So that was a lot of fun actually, but that was hard work, especially because we didn't have a very big, you know, in our theater company. We had a, you know, pretty good stage. You know, the stage was pretty big, but the actual back to get on the stage, backstage, was kind of small. So you had all these girls in these really big dresses, and you just had to kind of shove them together, like walk like this. And I was like, that was pretty tough. But it was really good. It got actually, it was a pretty long run for me. Yeah. But then also for plays, you kind of end up getting bored after a while. It's like, again, the same thing, you know. So in the beginning, it's really exciting. And then when it goes on for a while, it's kind of like, and sometimes you don't, I mean, I've caught myself a couple times, you know, like, you know, being on, you know, stage and thinking about, oh, what do I have to get at the supermarket kind of thing. It's like, that was pretty bad. I'm like, no, you can't think of it. You gotta be in the moment, be in the moment. And it's like, God, I gotta, you know, make sure I take my dog into the vet, onto, you know, like going down the list of things I have to do. And I'm on the stage and I should be in character. So it ends up, you know, getting like that a little bit when you do theater, especially so much, you know. My dad's done a lot of theater too. He's done actually Broadway, so, and singing and dancing and stuff. And he's had pretty long runs too. And we always talk about that. It's like, you know, that's kind of good, you know, after a while. Same thing, same old thing. But it's fun.
So what do you think about Dragoncon so far?
I like it actually. I mean, I think I told you, I love the costumes. You know, because I'm a costume person. I have my costume collection too. Should have wore a costume. So I love Halloween. Halloween's probably my favorite holiday. I mean, I love Christmas too. Presents.
Yeah, really.
But I used to throw huge Halloween parties. My dad and I threw one together actually, which was really fun. Threw a couple actually together. And the last one I did, that got a little over the top. I was renting porta potties, and as soon as you start doing that, it's like, now we're getting too big, too big. There were so many people there, and I had a whole maze coming through, and the DJ was in like this, like in the middle of this, like, you know, pond with like, you know, dry ice all around him, and oh my God, I didn't even get to really see anybody because I was running around the whole time. Yeah, that was too much. Yeah, once you start renting porta potties is when you kind of have to take a break. I'm still paying for that party. But yeah, so that was that's I think my favorite part of Dragoncon, and just meeting everybody because I'm kind of a people person. So you know, I think it's important when you know do that. Because I noticed some, not necessarily here, but other places I've been to. I don't know who they are because I maybe you know I haven't seen them in movies or whatever. But some of the actors are very kind of standoffish. And it's kind of weird. It's like, well, why are you doing this then?
Yeah, why are you here?
And they don't talk. It's like, here you go. Okay, thank you. You know, next. You know, I'm like, whoa, okay. I didn't know who it was. It was like a couple of them actually. And when I did, I think it was Chiller, the one in LA. I can't remember, but it was just very weird. It was like they didn't talk at all. It was like, you know, okay, next, move on. Okay, not a people person. But it's been great though, and it's just I've never been to such a big one. This is the biggest one I've done, and I didn't realize when I got here that it was in different hotels and stuff. So I thought this was just it, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't look too big. And then I realized that it was like, whoa, okay. Everybody walking on the street and trying to get to the hotel room, and they're kind of like shoving your way through and. Because I got here on Thursday, and so it was kind of quiet on Thursday. Of course, it didn't start yet. And then Friday, it was like, oh, okay. And then Saturday came, and I'm like, oh my God. Now I see why everybody's telling me it's so big. It's funny. God.
What would you like to dress up as Halloween? Last costume as what?
Oh, last costume was really fun actually, because my husband and I dressed up as Alice in Wonderland, and my husband dressed up as the Mad Hatter. But it wasn't the typical Mad Hatter. He was kind of like a cool Mad Hatter. Because I put together his costume so fast. He got this hat, and it was black and red. But it was like the Mad Hatter kind of like symbols on it, or Alice in Wonderland kind of symbols on it. So it matched my tights actually. And it was like, you know, it was like red diamonds and like, you know, the whatever, you know, around it and stuff. And then I had this like tie, so I got him in like a black suit with like a white kind of frilly shirt underneath with this black and red tie. And then he had these little glasses on, like the 60s glasses, so he was kind of like the cool Mad Hatter. And we totally matched though, because I was kind of like the cool Alice in Wonderland. It was like the typical Alice in Wonderland dress. It was kind of like the sexy Alice. So we had a really good time. It was really fun, and everybody mentioned our costumes. So I think it's the first time we actually kind of did the couple thing, like, you know. So I like doing that, so I'm going to make him do it this year too. Because he likes to get dressed up, and it's like, he'll say like for the longest, no, I don't want to, you know, I'll just wear like, you know, a shirt saying this is my costume or like something stupid like that. And so I kind of like, you know, nudge him in it. And then when I start dressing him up, then he gets into it. It's like, well, maybe we can like do my, like, oh yeah, like my hair like white here. And then he gets into it. And it's like, you know, I'm going to grow my beard out, you know, and make it kind of white. And so then he totally gets into it. By the time Halloween, you know, is there, it's like, you know, he's like, you know, get dressed, thing. It's really funny. He does it every year. Like, no, I don't want to get dressed up. No, I don't want to get dressed up. No, I don't want to get dressed up. And then all of a sudden it's like, so what am I going to be? What are you going to do for me? That's fun. I assume everybody here likes Halloween.
Oh, love it, love it.
I like my birthday better.
Huh?
I like my birthday better.
Yeah, presents.
No, my birthday is right before Halloween.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So is it actually right the day
The
before?
day before.
30th? Your birthday's the 30th? Oh my god. Oh, you should have a great like half birthday, half Halloween party. That would be fun. Uh-huh.
You mentioned Nicolas Cage before. When you married Lisa Marie Presley, there was a lot of stuff going on about that was a little kooky because he was an Elvis collector. And,
Yeah.
you knew him, so.
Oh, was he an Elvis collector? I can't remember.
Yeah, they were talking about Lisa Marie being the ultimate Elvis collectible.
How weird. Because
They
when
weren't
I...
married very long.
Yeah, no, they weren't married very long at all, were they? Maybe he was an Elvis collector. I don't remember him. Maybe he became an Elvis collector because I don't remember him collecting a bunch of Elvis stuff, but he might have had some stuff now that I think about it. I remember having like a bust of Elvis, I think, you know, in the living room. But oh, that's weird. I didn't realize, because I remember that when that happened, I'm like, whoa, that's kind of, you know. And then for her, it was like, what, her like third husband, or wasn't she married before?
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, that's right. That was pretty creepy. That was like, whoa, what is going on there? Yeah, I remember him being into he had a black cat and a scorpion and piranhas. Yeah, he had kind of a weird pet collection. Yeah, exactly. Of course, my husband had piranhas too. Don't know why anybody would have a piranha for a pet, but okay.
What do you collect?
God, what do I collect? I do collect dolls. I have a doll collection. And my mom collects plates, so I have some of her collection of like, you know, like pretty handy plates for the kitchen. And I love candles, so I have, you know, candles pretty much everywhere. Living up in the hills is probably not a good idea. And that's pretty much about it. And I used to collect dogs actually. I would save them from the pound, and I used to at some point I had like 6, 7 dogs, and I'd find homes for them. So I used to collect dogs at one point, but that got, you know, kind of sad because I wouldn't want to give them away for a while. But then I ended up with 4. I remember this is kind of a funny story. I remember getting a home for one dog though, and I'm like, you know, great. Her name was Honey. She was so sweet, and so I gave her this really nice couple. God, like a couple weeks later, I get this call, Amy, the dog had puppies. I'm like, whoa, oh, sorry. 5 puppies I had to try and find homes for now. I'm like, oh God. He was like, the dog had puppies. What are you doing to me? We live in an apartment. So that was pretty funny. But that was good now. I don't do that anymore. That was just bad. Anybody else? Yeah?
Were there any parts that like got away? Either you went for them and the stars didn't align, or you turned them down that you sort of regret, or that turned out to be famous?
I think I actually turned down to read for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show, the actual TV show. And so I kind of regret that. I'm like, damn, why didn't I go out for that? I just thought it was such a ridiculous concept that I was like, So I probably should have read for that. Now that I look back on it, yeah, I was probably a mistake.
Well,
Yeah.
Michelle thanks you.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. So other than that, just I don't do nudity, so I've lost a couple parts because of that. But I just, and I could have lied and said, oh no, I'll do it, and then get the part. But I'm not like that. I would hate to do that to a director. If they really want nudity in the movie, then they want nudity in the movie. What are you gonna do? So, and a couple of times I just really needed that scene, and I don't do it. So that was yeah, I lost a couple parts in that, unfortunately. But I feel good about that one because I didn't want to, And plus, even if I tried to talk myself into it, could I have done it when it actually got there? So I didn't want to do that to them either. Freak out and go, no, I can't do it. I thought I could, but I couldn't. So I could have tried, but I didn't want to be in the position or put them in the position of, you gotta do it kind of thing, and then just totally freak out. So that's pretty much it though. Other than that, it's been, I think I've been pretty lucky, and just, I'm lucky just, getting, auditions. I was going to acting class for a while. I'll probably get back into it, but, it was an acting class, and this was just a little while ago when I, started getting back into the business. And these poor kids, they're all they want is a SAG card. It's just, I want to get into SAG, And the horrible thing is that you have to have so many working hours to get into SAG. And of course, if you're not in SAG, then you can't get any work. So it's kind of how does this work out? And it's a lot harder to get into SAG than it was when I was, getting into SAG and stuff. Nowadays, it's oh my God, so hard. So it's really rough for people out there. So I feel pretty lucky at least to have my SAG card. Did you have a question?
Oh, I was just gonna ask you how you met your husband.
Oh, an acting class.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
Hollywood story. Yeah. We actually met before at a party, and we kind of didn't pay any attention to each other. We're okay, yeah, nice to meet you, and we're looking at other people and stuff. And then we ended up doing a scene in acting class together, and we kind of locked eyes. And we started doing we started rehearsing. That was an exercise we did together, and then we got a scene together. The teacher, gave us a scene to do, and he would come over to my house, and we'd, practice the scene for a little while, and then we just end up talking, and just talking, and we end up talking, and then, we'd get hungry, and, do you want to go down the street, get something to eat? And he was okay, and stuff. So we go down the street, get something to eat, and this happened a few times. We just instead of rehearsing, we just sit there and talk and go get something to eat. And so the scene pretty much sucked when we did it because we didn't really rehearse at all. But and then we just started dating from that. So we became friends, just acting wise, and but it was really funny because I didn't even remember the scene that we did. It was we hardly rehearsed at all. And I remember one time after we rehearsed, sort of. We watched a movie together, and that's when we started really dating. We started to cuddle and stuff, and okay, this is going another direction now. But he's a great guy. He's a really sweet guy. He's a tough guy, but it's weird because he's a 2-time world kickboxing champion, so he's really, tough and stuff. But I swear he will cry on the drop of a dime, like a sad movie. It's really sad, he'll try and at our wedding, most of our pictures of him going like this, and trying to get the tears back into his face. I didn't cry, he cried. So funny. Because I was laughing at him. I'm like, oh my God. And he's trying to get the tears back. Because he has to be all tough and everything. It was so funny. It was so funny. It was really funny. God, everybody, my poor husband is and we had a car accident actually the day before our wedding. So I was on muscle relaxants. Everybody kept telling me, you are the most relaxed bride I have ever seen. I'm like, okay, let's go. We're ready, everybody? Okay, let's do this. And I'm walking down the aisle with my dad. It was a horrible, horrible thing that had happened. Because we totaled the car and everything. So it was really bad. This lady just cut right across the street and right in front of us, and we just smashed into her. And if somebody was on the passenger side, they might have been dead, which would be really bad. But it was totally her fault, and I can't believe it happened on the day before we got married. It's just like, and unfortunately I have like a bruise. You can't really see it so much, but I had like, like a top on my wrist, and I had, because of the seatbelt bruise. Thank God I had the seatbelt on, of course, because I just put it on like 2 blocks before, because I just had my nails done, so I don't remember my nails. And but I remember my dad. It's the only time my dad ever yelled at me is when I was wearing my seatbelt. And so I put my seatbelt on right before the accident. So that was kind of creepy. My head would have gone right through the windshield. So yeah, that was weird. Yeah, it was the only time my dad ever yelled at me. I was following him in my new Fiat convertible that he got me, and I think regretted after. He's like, "What did I do?" My mom yelled at him for getting it for me. But it was such a great father-daughter moment. We were driving in the rain, we're looking for my first car, and he's gonna get my first car, and I see this little silver Fiat convertible, and I just fell in love with him. Dad, pull over, that's the car, that's the car. And he pulls in, and he's like, I was so happy in the rain, and he bought it for me on the spot. I drove it off the lot that day, and it had a little Kenwood pull-out stereo. So I used to go down the halls of my high school with my little stereo. And and I remember following him back home, and my mom was just like, "What are you thinking? There's not even a roll bar on this thing. It's like a seatbelt just like here, So she was not a happy camper. And then that's when he'd be like, "Make sure you wear your seatbelt, always wear your seatbelt, always wear your seatbelt." And I was following him somewhere else, and he got out and to tell me something. He noticed I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, and he just went off. He's like, "You promise you always wear your seatbelt, you always wear your seatbelt." So I always remember it. So that's when I always wear my seatbelt now, because I always just hear my dad going, "Wear your seatbelt." So funny. God. Yeah, no, it was. I remember him seeing me for the first time in my wedding gown and stuff. And he was choking up too, And my aunt actually married us, his sister. So, and that was another, because she starts choking up during the sermon, So I'm the only one not crying. Everybody else around me is just like a basket case. It's just like, it was so funny, I'm just relaxed. It's just a wedding. It's just a big party afterwards, And my aunt's trying to hold back the tears as she's reading the thing, looking at me and my husband. It was a very emotional wedding. It was really fun. Very hot though. I wanted a hot summer night for my wedding. I got it. I got a little too much of it actually, but once the sun went down, it was really nice. But I felt really sorry for everybody in tuxedos, all the guys. Girls were okay because they were like in like little flimsy kind of, the guys was that. But it was it was a fun wedding. And my dad sung at the wedding of my aunt, and then his sister's also a singer and stuff. So it was a real family affair. My dad was hysterical, and the cake actually started to tilt because it was kind of warm. It was like the leaning piece, and it was going to go any minute, so we ended up cutting the cake really fast. But it was fun. It was a fun wedding. Are you guys married? Not yet. Oh, cool. Oh, very cool. Didn't we meet earlier? I thought, yeah. Yeah, that's right, yeah. Right. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
Would you guys consider doing a TV series now, or you just don't want to do movies?
Oh no, I'll do anything. I'll so long as there's no nudity in it, I'll do anything.
What about Dancing with the Stars or something like that, like one of those reality shows?
It would have to be something like Dancing with the Stars. I wouldn't want to do one of those reality shows where's that one? It's a Surreal Life. That's kind of weird. I wouldn't want to do something like that. I would not do something like that. Yeah, it's like, that's just kind of bizarre. And it's just not necessarily that there has been. It's just so boring. It's like a bunch of people. That's like Big Brother to me. My best friend loves watching Big Brother. She calls them her little hamsters. It's just weird, It's just creepy, okay? Just to see a bunch of people kind of backstabbing each other and talking bad about each other, and and it's just kind of sitting around and chatting. I know, it's like that's just life, and just like
like live. I think some of these people just sit at home like living other people's lives now with these reality shows and not their own. It's like life is a reality show. Live it yourself. Don't watch other people doing it. So yeah, like the surreal life, just sitting around kind of chatting and talking and, you know, talking bad about people. And I just, it's like, it's just not entertainment to me at all. And I was flipping through the channels the other night. It was so funny. I can't remember what channel it was. And it said Big Brother After Hours or something like that. And it was, and I clicked on it, and I'm just like, 'cause I want to see why my friend, my best friend, likes this so much. And this is just like them just playing like just what's going on in the house in general, like, and they're literally just sitting there. And sometimes they don't even talk. They're just kind of sitting there eating or something, or, you know, I'm like, how could people watch this? This is so boring. So yeah, I couldn't do something like that. I wouldn't do anything like that. But something like Dancing with the Stars, or, you know, something that you can actually, you know, kind of get into and learn something, or, you know, that would be kind of fun. I could do that.
You would do Survivor.
Survivor, I wouldn't want to do. No, I am not a survivor. I'd be like, where's the nearest restaurant? My hotel room, please. I actually did a reality show for a friend of mine, but it's not on yet or anything. It might not be. It was just like a demo for a reality show, and it was kind of cool because it's a little like Survivor or Amazing Race or something like that. But what you do is your tasks are actually to help like people in other communities, kind of thing. So we help build these ovens for this tribe in Mexico, because they were dying from the fumes, because they would cook on the floor and the fumes would go up and the babies would walk over, you know, get burned on the coals and stuff like that. That's the only way they could cook. So we ended up building, you know, ovens. Well, we didn't really build them. That's why reality shows are not really real, because it's like, you know, you kind of pretend for the camera and then the real people come in and do it. It's like really funny. So that was really interesting, because we were supposed to be camping, and, you know, out in the middle of nowhere. Well, of course, we had beautiful hotel rooms and everything, so we're, you know, camping in the backyard of the hotel, like, you know, kind of thing. It's like, cut, you know, we're supposedly like, you know, roughing it, falling asleep in the tents. It's like, no, okay, cut. Everybody gets up and walks to their hotel room, their 4-star hotel room, kind of thing. So that was pretty funny, but a lot of fun. So I hope it sells, because at least it's a good message. You know, help people around the world, kind of thing. Like, she wants to do one in Africa where she's going to help, you know, a tribe get you know, fresh water system in there and stuff, and, you know, stuff like that. So I have done one reality show, but she's probably never going to see it.
Well, it's something that you're asked a lot of, hey, you look familiar, where do I know you from?
Yeah, because I'm not quite sure, especially when I cut my hair, because then it's like, God, your face looks so familiar. Sometimes people, it's funny, because sometimes people think they know me from high school or something. Did you go to so-and-so high? Did you go to, do you know so-and-so? No, yes you did. You went to high school with me. I'm like, no, I didn't. I haven't even been to, you know, Chicago. So that's pretty funny. They do that a lot. I remember somebody coming up to me, and they'd been drinking, I guess, or something, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, I was, maybe you noticed me from, a movie or something, or, you know, because I'm an actress, and they're like, no, I definitely, no, I was on She's Out of Control, or General Hospital, and it's like, no, that's not how I know, I know you from somewhere. You were in da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, no, I wasn't. It's like, yes, you were. You were in that. I'm like, no, I wasn't. And it was like, she was arguing with me. I'm like, sweetie, I know what I've done, you know. So, I mean, it's really funny. Sometimes people are like that, too. It's like they can't, you know, it's like you're lying to them or something. Yeah. Anybody else? Any questions? No?
You tell me, I guess you're still looking for American Beach on DVD.
Yeah.
You collect your movies, and you've been on DVD, you collect those, and look at them.
I actually do. I do have that on cassette. I actually gave all my movies. Well, I mean, I didn't give them away, but I gave them to Jeopardy for a while because they wanted to see, some of my movies and stuff. So She's Out of Control, which I should get on DVD. I still have the cassette of She's Out of Control, but I don't have the DVD. I did get the DVD of Pumpkinhead 2. Because She's Out of Control's DVD is really expensive. Like, I'm not paying this much money. It's like really weird. Yeah, nothing, like strange. Like, why the hell is this so expensive? It's an old movie. Yeah, exactly. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not getting paid for any of this. But I do collect some movies. I have a ton of She's Out of Control posters too that I got, but I kind of got them wrinkled. So should have kept them better. I could have sold them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I do collect that kind of stuff.
Growing up how you did, being around, celebrity and things like that, how did you not end up being in E! True Hollywood Stories? Like,
Oh.
was it just a good publicist? Was it,
No, I didn't even really have a publicist. The shows that I worked on, like General Hospital and stuff, they had publicists and stuff. I think it was, my grandparents moved out from England when I was born, and so I lived with them pretty much my whole life. I remember my grandmother saying or somebody asking her, why did you move out to America? Why do you stay in England? And it's like, I'm not having a rock star and a model raise my granddaughter. Are you crazy? So my grandfather and my grandmother were pretty strict. And I remember swearing the first time in front of my grandfather, and I was young and I didn't know what it meant or anything. And he's like, I can't believe you said that. Don't talk to me for the rest of the time. And I had to figure out why he was so mad at me, and then I figured it out. And so I never swore in school or anything. I didn't even swear. I mean, my friends would tease me because I would never, swear or anything. And so I was raised by really great parents as well. Young, because they were young when they had me. Well, early 20s. It's not like high school or anything. And but mostly my grandparents were there a lot too, and really, set. They were very strict and set rules and. I never got into drugs, and I had friends that got into it, but I really fought that, and I didn't I get into it myself, and so I felt really lucky that I had them in my life, because they were really always there for me. When my grandfather died, it was devastating, and my grandmother died way after him. But my grandfather died, I think, because I was much younger. I wasn't even in high school yet. I think I was in junior high or something. And that was really tough for me because he was like my rock, kind of thing. So, and then also my parents afterwards, they were just, they were just always there. And my dad moved to England when I was younger, so I really, he always called. He was not like a dad that just kind of disappeared. I would always go to England every summer, spend like 3 months there, and, so he was always in my life. He never left my life or anything. So I think, a lot have I think a lot of these kids or a lot of these actors who, they're escaping something. They don't have a good family background, which I think is so important. And they lose their way. I think especially with the drugs, because acting is such a tough business, and it's like they just numb themselves from it, kind of thing. So. It's kind of scary because I've seen it happen so many times. Really promising, actors just go down, and it's really, really sad. It's so sad. But it happens a lot in Hollywood, unfortunately. Anybody else? Yeah, I actually I'm still friends with I went to her wedding, she went to my wedding, and and showers and stuff. Davy's kids, I'm close with. I talk to them. They live in Santa Barbara, so I see them. Not as much as I like and stuff. We always keep in touch, and Christmas cards, and and stuff like that. So, and then they all here have children. I remember Mike's son Jason. We used to hang out because he lived with 2 friends of mine. They were roommates, and so and I hooked him up, and they all lived in the house together. And so I used to hang out with Jason a lot, and then he moved to New York. I don't really know Peter's kids that well. It's more Jason and then Davy's kids, so Mike's kids and Davy's kids. But yeah, we all hang out when when they were like doing the tour, especially Peter and Davy. We used to go on tour together and stuff, which was a lot of fun back in the day when they did the reunion tour. That was really, really fun. Going on the tour bus. I remember the first time I saw New York, I fell asleep on the tour bus in like the middle of a cornfield in the middle of nowhere. And then I woke up in New York City, in the middle of New York City. And it was like, and I'm brushing my teeth, you know, in the middle of New York City on this tour bus, and I look out the window and these people are just rushing by. And that was really funny. It was outside of the MTV studios in New York, and we did this Christmas special with all the kids and stuff. And it was really, really fun, but that's the first time I saw New York, brushing my teeth. Very weird. It was fun. But yeah, New York is fun. Any more questions? It is? Oh my god, that was fast. Cool. Great. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you guys. I guess I'll see you walking around and stuff. I'll be at my table. I gotta try and walk around a little bit today though, because I gotta get my husband an action figure. He'll get very upset with me. Make sure you bring me back an action figure.
Which one?
I don't know. He loves his action figures in general. You know, actually, I'm trying to find. He wants a silver surfer. I haven't been able to find a silver surfer.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah.
If you're gonna find it anywhere, you'll find it here.
Yeah. So I figure here it's like